All right, I think we're going to get started. I was giving a few minutes for people to join the forum, but I think we have enough people on board now that we can get started. Welcome to the U.S. House of Representatives, Indiana District 9 Democrat Candidate Forum. We are so glad that each of you was able to attend today and that we have our candidates here. My name is Sonia Learcamp. I am Vice President of the Brown County League of Women Voters, and I'll be your moderator today. Please make sure that during the forum, unless you are asking a question, make sure that you turn off your camera and mute your audio so that we can hear the candidates and other questions. We will have the two candidates for the Democrat position, Liam Dorris and Tim Peck, and they are both here with us today. I do want to tell everyone that the League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization. We do not support or oppose any candidate. And I also want you to know that we did make an effort to set up a Republican candidate forum, but the candidates were either unable or did not respond to our request for that. So now we'll move into the ground rules that we're going to have while we go forward with the forum. First of all, I want to remind everyone, including the candidates, that this is an informative session. It is not a debate. So we are asking everyone to be civil in their questioning and respectful as we go through this process and try to vet our candidates as much as possible about the positions that they have or that they hope to have as a winning candidate. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening remark. And then I will begin asking some questions. I have some pre-prepared questions. And I'm going to ask 4 or 5 questions. This should give you time to be thinking about your questions and go into chat and direct your desire to ask a question to one question moderator. You put one question moderator in there and you just say, I have a question, and then you will be called upon in the order that you indicate your interest to ask a question. So the order of the candidates' responses will be alternating. I will ask one to start, and then we'll alternate that process. We also will have a time limit on the questions that you can ask. Please limit your questions to 1 minute. And then each candidate will have 90 seconds to respond to that question. In addition to that, the candidate will have 90 seconds for closing remarks. I want to remind you also that we are being recorded by Community Access Television Services. They will be recording not only the candidates, but also the questions that you are asking. And those recordings will be made available on various sites after the forum. So with all of that said, and I think that we are ready to get started. So I am going to direct my first question. Well, excuse me, we have openings first, and we'll go alphabetically. Liam, why don't you go ahead? 2 minutes.
Oh, everyone, my name is Liam Dorris, and I'm a United States Marine Corps veteran and a homegrown Hoosier. And I've been running for Congress for, I don't know, about 5 years now. I've had a very consistent and ongoing thing, but I have not scripted anything for you today. So whenever the questions are asked, I'm going to give genuine answers. So there's no script, so you guys can see my reaction whenever the question is asked, and and my response will be genuine because I don't have any note cards today. I'm going right into the lion's den, everyone.
Okay. Well, thank you, Liam. And Tim, we would turn to you now and ask you to give your opening.
Well, thank you. And thank you to the League of Women Voters and everyone at home watching. My name's Tim Peck. I'm an emergency room doctor, a business owner, husband, and a proud new dad. Above all, I'm a problem solver by nature, and I'm running for Congress because I want to help solve problems for us. I'm not a politician. And while I'm proud to be running as a centrist Democrat, I'm not a partisan person. As a matter of fact, I've been an independent my whole life and just recently joined the Democratic Party. The thing is, while I've always cared deeply about our government, I haven't ever felt completely at home in either political party. And while saying something like that may make me sound crazy to career politicians, I know there are a lot of people out there who understand exactly what I mean. I know that because most of you, like me, haven't placed the political party at the center of your life. Instead, like me, you place things at the center of your life that you thought held more value, things that were more important to you than politics, the big things like family, your community, your faith, your work. For me, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a doctor, I'm a caregiver, I'm a Christian. Now I just want you to take a moment to think about what you put at the center of your life. If you elect me to Congress, these are the things I will represent. Folks, I want to be your voice in Congress because I want to be useful to you. I will not forget what a hard day's work feels like and what it means to love my neighbor as I love myself. That's the way I was built. That's the way I work. That's the way I live. That's the way I will serve you if I'm fortunate enough to be your voice in Congress. Appreciate your time and attention, and can't wait for the rest of the morning. Thank you.
Okay, Tim, thank you very much. We are going to start the questioning process now. And as I indicated, I'm going to ask just a few questions, and I want to encourage the audience. Please go into chat and indicate if you have questions, because I know both of these candidates are interested in hearing from people who may be their constituents in the future. The first question will go to Tim. What is an example of an issue that is clearly within Congress's power to address? And how would you approach the fiscal trade-offs necessary to address that issue?
Thank you. So clearly within Congress's purview is how we spend money on healthcare. And for me, the grand goal is for everybody in the United States to have healthcare. How we get there is likely not an enormous jump from what we have now to everyone having healthcare. I would love that. That would be ideal. But the realities of our Congress, of our political system, is that we need to work together. And so right now, the way we pay for healthcare needs to be changed. So the way that we receive healthcare gets changed. The way we pay for healthcare is that if I give one of you service and you have a great experience and you do have quality outcomes, I get paid as a doctor. If I give you service and you have a bad experience and you have bad outcomes, I get paid as a doctor. It doesn't matter if you have high quality care or not, I'm still going to get paid the same way. That needs to change. That can change, and there's a movement that I've been part of to make that change. And so what we want to do is tie payments to quality, not just doing things. So that is a clear place where Congress has a lot of power to make change, and I'll be a champion there. Thanks.
Here, Booker, this is our...
Thank you very much, Tim. And now, Liam, I will be turning to you with the same question. What is an example of an issue that is clearly within Congress's power to address? And how would you approach the fiscal trade-offs necessary to address that issue?
Probably the root cause of many issues within the United States federal government is corruption, political corruption, or as I like to put it, legal bribery. Right now, there's a tremendous amount of money in politics that nobody knows where it's coming from. It could be literally coming from anywhere due to the super PACs. Thanks to Supreme Court decisions, Buckley versus Vallejo and Citizens United, money equals free speech. And whenever money equals speech, those of us who are without money have no speech. We're completely muted. And that's within Congress's ability to solve right away. They've considered it, but right now there's a lot of money that flows through. As far as the fiscal impact, there shouldn't be much of a fiscal impact, except for, a lot of these candidates can't receive money from these just unlimited amounts of monies from these super PACs, from corporations, from entities that neither you or I know anything about. So that's something that's within Congress's ability to change, and that's an issue I would like to be on point with.
Thank you very much, Liam. I will now ask the next question. Please give an example of how you have worked with people on opposing sides to accomplish something. And this question goes first to Liam.
Ooh, I don't know. I would say that a good example of that is I've been in the military, and whenever you're in the military, there's not always a lot of agreement. For those who are veterans, there's a lot of things that can be said about veterans. And do we always get along? No. And there's always got to be conflict resolution. And so you work together and you get people to work together. You don't necessarily want to force them to work together. You want them to want to work together and accomplish goals. And whenever you do great conflict resolution, not only do the problems get ironed out, but moving forward, the people who are on either side become closer and start to understand each other and is able to exchange ideas more effectively and more efficiently.
Thank you for that answer, Liam. Tim, we would now turn to you with the same question. Please give an example of how you have worked with people on opposing sides to accomplish something.
Right now, we have a do-nothing Congress. Right? Last year's Congress passed less bills than they have in many, many decades. We are digging our heels in as politicians. The current Congress is fighting and not really compromising, not working. And it hasn't always been that way, right? We made Medicare and Medicaid in the 60s because of bipartisan compromise. And then everyone who is over 65, everyone who was under the poverty limit, everyone who is disabled had health care. We were able to get that done. We've had a balanced budget as only long ago as the early 2000s because people were compromising. And so I am a physician, but I'm also a business owner who creates telemedicine companies, treating vulnerable people in nursing homes over video. And what that led me to do is go to DC as an advocate and become an expert witness before Congress and be part of a team that wrote the blueprint for telemedicine in this country, which is what got adopted in 2020 so that everybody could have that telemedicine. That was a bipartisan effort. And the reason it was bipartisan is because I would go into people's offices, Republicans' offices, and say, I have something that will save you money and be good for people, and Democrats' office and say, I have something that will be good for people and save you money. It's about how do we talk to people to make compromise.
Thank you very much, Tim. We will now move to our next question. And this has kind of been a rallying cry for both parties that we'd like to hear what your position is. This election has generated discussion that our democracy is in danger. Do you agree or disagree with that assessment, and why? And Tim, you'll be first this time.
Our democracy is in danger, yes, and in a lot of ways. I just talked about this Do Nothing Congress, which is the piece of government that I'm trying to step up and become part of to make it work again. It doesn't work right now because we have such incentives to not work together. And those incentives are making our leaders, our presidential leaders, our political leaders, those who support them in the media, kind of parroting back and forth the opposite sides without talking about and giving proper airwave and airtime to how do we compromise. January 6th was a travesty, and was it's downright scary that we had that in our country, and we need to move forward from that time. And the only way that we could do that is by working together.
Thank you very much, Tim. Same question to you, Liam. This election has generated discussion that our democracy is in danger. Do you agree or disagree with that assessment, and why?
I 100% agree with that assessment. Not only is our democracy in danger, it is questionable whether or not we are actually still living in a democracy. Right now, we are living under effectively a corporate oligarchy due to unlimited campaign funds going to the different politicians. Money equals influence, and influence equals bills being passed without being read, which, a few things that are going through Congress, half of which aren't being read. They are being delivered in packets to politicians saying, this is what you're going to vote for, this is how you're going to vote, and here's the check that's going to get this done. That's how things are going right now. And so what that does is it puts all the power into the ultra rich's hands, and that creates a corporate oligarchy. And that's where we are. Do I think that there's a way out? Absolutely. I covered that in a previous question. Do I think that it's going to be easy? Absolutely not. But it's something that we absolutely positively must do to preserve the heart of this nation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Liam. Next question. What are your priorities on reproductive health and access to obstetric health care? And Liam, you're first this time.
My position is that we need to get some bills passed. We need to, first and foremost, we need to codify Roe. And right now, Roe's been struck down by SCOTUS due to the stacking of the Supreme Court, which is a travesty. There's been no action to counter that. There's been suggestions made about, making sure that it's available at federal hospitals and so on and so on, but no action is actually being done. And that's something I think that is absolutely necessary. It's not necessary in 6 months. It's not necessary in 12 months. It's not necessary in 18 months. It's necessary right now. Like, there are people who are experiencing life-altering events, whether it's just everything. Excuse me. It's everything. No matter where it's at on the board, a person's body is their business. You know what I'm saying? So that's where we're at. Thank you.
Thank you, Liam. Tim, same question to you. What are your priorities on reproductive health and access to obstetric health care?
Yeah, on this matter, let me be absolutely crystal clear. I do not believe the government should have any say in a woman's reproductive rights. I'm a physician, and again, I'm an emergency physician, which means I've been on the front lines of healthcare as a first responder, and I've treated many women who have been raped. I've even treated girls who've been raped. It's a real thing. And in those rooms, I have had to have very tough conversations with those women, and never once while we were having those conversations, the woman and her family, did I think, what does the government think about this? The government doesn't have a role in a patient and doctor's conversation in that way. And they don't have a role in what the woman does with her body. In terms of how do we get this done? How do we move this forward? Supreme Court is certainly an issue. And so we as a Congress need to move this issue forward. And I will fight for that. I will be a champion for that. And that includes protecting the rights of those women who I just described, who had trauma done to them, but all women to be able to decide how they live their life. So thank you.
Thank you, Tim. I have one additional prepared question at this point in time, but I do want to take a moment just to remind everyone in the audience that so far no one has entered an indication that they have a question for these candidates. So please do that while we're answering this question so that we can give you a voice and not make me do all the work here. So, okay, the next question is, what policies and plans do you have to address the challenges of pollution to the climate and environment? And this question will go first to Tim.
Thank you. So environmental care, how we take care of the environment, is a responsibility of everybody in America and really around the world. And therefore, firstly, it is a world cooperative effort. We need to have strong diplomacy across the world through our allies that we have, as well as talking to those who we don't get along with, to be able to come up with very clear ways of reducing emissions and being able to control pollution. That also includes the people who run our businesses and our businesses themselves. Large businesses need to have good governance for themselves to be able to put in solutions that allows them to not pollute. The government needs to, the federal government, that is something specifically that we can work on, can make sure that we have teeth in the laws that we have and the rules that we have when large businesses violate those pollutant statutes. And so working on how we regulate businesses to allow them to thrive economically, but also allow all of us to thrive in terms of our public health is a place where I'll be working.
Thank you very much, Tim. And Liam, same question to you. What policies and plans do you have to address the challenges of pollution to the climate and the environment?
Okay, so historically, I have supported a Green New Deal. At this point in time, I'm open to ideas. I have several ideas of my own, but no idea is too small. We need to actually start addressing this existential threat. For example, one of my ideas is actually putting our military to use fighting climate change. It's a war that we must be fighting, and it's a war that we must win for the survival of humanity. That's really where it comes down to. So far as things that we could do right now that would dramatically reduce climate change these are the top two contributors to climate change. One, shipping container ships. They put out more pollution than you can possibly imagine. Two, war. If we actually stopped fighting so many wars, it would actually dramatically improve our climate situation as we know it. So if you ask me directly, what is my first priority? And that is ending all foreign wars. Let's get rid of war altogether. We need to actually push forward into diplomatic solutions, because that's what the climate emergency demands of us. Thank you.
Yes, Liam, thank you very much. And I believe that we do have a question from the audience. Deanna Bryant, would you like to unmute and ask your question of the candidates?
Yes, I was curious to know, if elected, how often would you hold meetings back in the district for constituents to attend, and what kind of constituent communications would you institute regularly?
Thank you very much, Deanna. And I believe the first one that goes first to Liam.
Okay, so for those who don't know me, my name is Liam Dorris. My website is dliamdorris.com. One of the big things that people find both amazing and different about my campaign is my transparency and my willingness to chit chat with people about what's on their mind. Um, you know, and so, and I try to address all the different questions, all the different concerns as well as I can. I'm there to answer questions. This isn't my first radio. I actually have a lot of answers for people who don't know what's going on. I can help people see things through a new and interesting perspective, things that are going on differently than what they perceive. So that being said, like I like to get in there and I like to jump in with everybody because I am not above anybody else. I am down there with you and I want to hear it. Especially if I'm elected to Congress, I'm going to need every ounce I can of people who are not DC people. I'm going to need real folks on the ground talking to me about what's on their mind. And that is something that I must do, and that's something you should expect from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Liam. Tim, same question to you.
Yeah, thank you. So we've already done quite a bit in the short amount of time that this campaign has been going on. So I'll start there. We've divided our very large district. For those of you who are aware, it goes from Bloomington down to near Corydon to the river, all the way up the Ohio River to Ohio and back to Bloomington. Very large district. And so we divided that into 3 different areas, and we have 3 different campaign managers who are working on each of those. They are constantly working to help us set up town halls. And so we will be in all 18 counties. I have been in all 18 counties already. We've done our first town hall, official town hall in Corydon the other day. And I have town halls coming up in Lawrenceburg and Decatur as well. So we'll continue to do that throughout the entire time here. I'll also be at all of the 4-H fairs, and I plan on continuing to do that. So while in Congress, that won't stop. I'll have a team on the ground here whose sole job is to keep communications both from me to people, but more so to collect information, to collect concerns from all of you while I'm in Washington. And then when I'm home, I'll be doing town halls.
Thank you, Tim. We did have an earlier question that I think I missed from Clara. Clara, if you want to unmute and ask your question, just as a reminder, because I know how much you love to converse with candidates, remember that you have a 1-minute limitation.
Thank you, Sonny. Sonny, I just had a privilege of talking briefly with Team Peck the other day, and I'm a day training financial planner, and I've been witnessing this great problem of our American people that since pension got dropped out of our platform, that people under the 401k IRA been suffering so greatly that people are losing the money power and just enter the retirement helplessly and hopelessly without any fundamental knowledge how to take care of their retirement planning. So our the fellow advisors are talking about that. Okay, so how are you going to respond to this problem of a lack of a pension plan if you're elected? How are you going to repair this fundamental flaws of a current financial industry?
Thank you very much, Clara. And that question will go first to Tim.
So I believe you're speaking about a shift that's happened in our corporate economy, in which businesses were once responsible and had the corporate responsibility of taking care of their employees through pensions, and we started to move to 401k, which became much more on the burden of the employee to manage with the help of financial advisors. And it definitely benefits people who have financial advisors to, use their money to make more money. And so what is government's role in this is, 401ks as they are right now, we're not going to eradicate them tomorrow. They are very useful to many people. They have problems when those 401ks are down, like we saw in the pandemic, and you need to retire at that moment. Those need stronger protections to keep our Americans retiring. And then it would be strengthening unions and allowing unions to continue to work with companies to be able to make sure that pensions are stronger as well. So union strength is an enormous part of my own platform, and it's directly related to this.
Thank you very much, Tim. Liam, same question to you.
This is a very good question, and honestly, I don't know what the correct answer is on this. I do know that we need to move towards pension programs, businesses being incentivized to take care of their employees once they retire, so on and so on. This is huge because, and this is super important to understand, 401ks are attached to the stock market. If the stock market crashes and people lose their jobs, if somebody loses their job and they're out of a job for an extended period of time, the first thing they're going to do is tap that 401k. If the economy it does what it did in, like, say 2007, then what's going to happen is the money's just going to disappear out of their 401k. It's going to shrink, and whenever they pull it out, they're actually pulling out a larger chunk of their 401k just to survive an economic downturn. So we definitely need to work on getting those pensions back into place, as well as other things. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Liam. I believe that we have another question from an audience member, and this is Christopher Ramey. Chris, if you would unmute and ask your question, please. And please, this is the only question we have in the queue, so I'm reminding the audience to please indicate in chat if you have another question to ask. Christopher, please go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. We're seeing a change in disability rights and the importance. It is becoming less and less important in both Indiana and the United States as a whole. What will you do in Congress to ensure we continue to keep disability rights at the forefront?
Thank you, Chris. This question will go first to Liam.
That's another one. That's a great question. To make sure that disability rights are at the forefront of our brains. So let me give you a quick statistic, and I've only got a minute and a half to go through this. According to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, unemployment is measured by people who are actually on unemployment. The reality is once you're off of unemployment, you're outside of the workforce. The two main demographics that are outside the workforce are people who are disabled and people who are retired. And if you actually read the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, that means that's 35% of this nation. That means that we have 40% unemployment actually. So what we actually have to do is take care of the other half of the nation that is out of work because of whatever reason, and they're outside of the workforce. And the two main demographics that we absolutely positively have to take care of are the retired and the disabled. And that should be a focus of our priority. We actually should start talking about the numbers as they really are, because right now things are bad and most people don't realize how bad they are. We actually have to spread this information out, and we have to get people out there to realize, hey, we're in a lot of trouble and we need to actually change things very quick. Thank you.
Thank you, Liam. Tim, your response, please.
Certainly. So the disabled are population of people that are near and dear to my heart, who I've worked a lot with and who have taught me a lot as well. Firstly, I'd just like to say we need candidates who won't other one another, who won't use their political rhetoric for their own political gain in order to make it hard to work together. And the disabled often gets caught up in that as another, which I promise I won't do. The second is Medicaid. We've seen Indiana cut Medicaid from a quote unquote budget error last year, which has hurt the way that we are able to give care to our disabled children, especially their parents, and how they being compensated for helping them. That needs to be fixed on the federal level, because Medicaid is a federal program, even though it's administered by states. And then Medicare, our aging disabled, we call those Medicare and Medicaid patients. Those are the patients that I have worked with very deeply. And it's really about creating access, better access to care. I've used telemedicine in the past to get into nursing homes to be able to give them care and give them a voice. So,
thank you very much, Tim. Okay, well, we are at a point where I don't have anyone in the queue for any questions, but I'm reminding everyone that we're hoping that you have some more questions. But in the meantime, I have a few more questions to keep us engaged. As a new member of Congress, on which committee would you be most interested in serving, and why is it important to you? And this question will go first to Tim.
There's a number of committees that I would put my name in the hat for. Picking one right now, I live in New Washington, which is a small town in Clark County. I live on a 40-acre farm with my wife and my son, and I'm looking outside right now. My dog's off leash and goats in the backyard, etc. And I've talked to a lot of farmers who surround me about what their needs are. And I think having a voice of someone who has some common sense, some compassion on the Agriculture Committee is something that I can bring to Indiana and to a lot of our rural people who make America work, who feed America, who keep us sustained. With that includes how we handle inheritance tax from farm to farm, how we handle subsidies for the people who are working for us, how we handle broadband to be able to get into rural areas so people are not left behind as a technology revolution continues. So agriculture is one of the committees that I think I can make an impact. Thanks.
Thank you, Tim. Liam, same question to you. As a new member of Congress, on which committee would you be most interested in serving, and why is it important to you?
Okay, so there's a huge answer to this, and I will be as direct as possible. There's two committees that I'm actually heavily considering. One is the Ethics Committee. I think that goes without saying, me being anti-corruption, being on the being on the Ethics Committee for anti-corruption. Yeah, that's a big one for me. But I also am interested in being on the House Intelligence Committee because I believe that, you know, a lot of the intelligence that's coming out of like our intelligence agencies, while there's accuracy to it, it's being spun in different ways that are inappropriate for our dealings worldwide. And so being part of that intelligence committee also helps how it delivers the intelligence to the appropriate people and how that is actually done. You know beforehand what you're getting into, and you can make the case for or against whatever needs to be done. And those are the two committees that I'm wanting to be on. But just to be clear, how this actually works is they hand out a literal menu, like a restaurant menu, to members of Congress, and they have committee seats and how much it costs. So that's how committee seats are actually done. Thank you.
Thank you, Liam. Okay, the next question. What, if anything, would you push Congress to do to address the need for affordable housing? And this question goes first to Liam.
Oh, I have gotten a whole thing written up about this. And if you give me, I don't have the statistics, but it's something like I want to say the amount of unoccupied housing, whether it's apartments, homes, whatever, unoccupied, the number of that is 17, the ratio between that and homelessness is 17-1. And what I would like to do is take a lot of those empty housing units and actually and incentivize the owners in some way, whether it be through tax breaks, whatever the case, to actually get in the homeless and so they can occupy those unoccupied residences to deal with homelessness until we can actually figure it out. And the problem, a lot of the problem is like right now, big corporations are buying out all the homes that they possibly can, so they can rent them out for a healthy profit, because those monthly rent payments are going to be well exceeding the actual mortgage cost. So keep that in mind. So a lot of these homes are off the market, and they leave them off the market so they can get tax breaks because they own it, but it's not occupied, it's not rented out, and therefore it qualifies as a tax break. So what we need to do is make those, in order to receive tax breaks like that, we need to say, hey, only if it's occupied by somebody who's homeless. Thank you.
Okay, Liam, thank you very much. Tim, same question to you. What, if anything, would you push Congress to do to address the need for affordable housing?
Thanks, Sonia. So I grew up in a household of social service workers, and the homeless were people who were friends to us and to myself. People who I even hung out with as a child and didn't realize that other children didn't do that until I was a bit older. My dad created the first homeless veteran shelter in the United States. So that's my background, homeless, and I've learned a lot from him over his 50-year career. Homelessness, it's about root causes, right? It's also about how we create housing, but it's about root causes. Veterans are overrepresented population there, and that's a failure of our veterans system to be able to give the proper trauma care, the proper resources when bringing people back from war. And thank you to all of them for serving, and Liam, thank you for you serving our country so boldly. The other piece is, healthcare costs is an enormous part of driving poverty in our country. And we need to control that. I talked about that at the top of the hour here, of how Congress literally can change the way healthcare gets paid so that healthcare is less expensive and more accessible to all of our Americans.
Thank you very much, Liam. Okay, since everyone's being so shy today, I guess I get to ask the next question too. Beyond public statements at meetings, letters, and email messages to you, how would you plan to hear from all the citizens you represent? And this question will go first to Tim.
Thanks, Sonia. I'm not sure I heard all the question, unfortunately.
I can repeat it if you would like for me to.
Would you mind? Yeah, thank you.
I would not mind at all.
I have Tim's back on this one, by the way. I'm kind of like, what?
I'm sorry. Beyond public statements at meetings, letters, and email messages to you, how would you plan to hear from all the citizens you represent?
Got it. So how do we hear from citizens? There's 800,000 or so citizens in our district that we represent. Not all of those people are voters, but our job is to represent all of them. And how do we hear from them? I already talked about how we are a very organized campaign with a good ground game, as they call it, meaning people on the ground being able to organize themselves to have those ears listen to users, to users of the government, to our citizens, to be able to bring that back to a central place where I can hear it and then be able to diffuse that through both my voting record as well as the stances that I support. I think so having a good 1 foot in Indiana and 1 foot in DC at the same time takes organization. And we haven't talked much about it, but I've created 3 businesses from scratch, and that means organizing people from scratch. And it's something I have a good background for. One of those businesses thrived and then got shut down because of government get shut down, and 2 others are still thriving today.
Thank you very much, Tim. Liam, that question goes to you now. Would you like for me to read it again?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
So just to repeat the question as I understood it, outside of emails, the typical electronic stuff, how do we want to go out and hear all the voters? Well, first of all, I like to hit the ground running here. Whenever you are a congressman, you spend about half or most of your time in Washington, D.C. You're not actually on the ground in the state. You get a small apartment there, you live there. You come back for, I went for basically your office hours, so you have access to the community. But to me, I don't think that, that was one complaint I had about Trey Hollingsworth. Is he was always in DC, and you really couldn't reach out to him. I was fortunate enough to actually have a face-to-face with him, but what's going on there is they're just always there and they're inaccessible. For me, the one thing that I love to do is to make myself accessible. For those who know me offline, I'm fun, I'm cheeky, I have a good time talking about the issues, and I will get down into the weeds with people. Why? Because people, need to be able to understand what is up for vote and why my vote is the way it is, and to understand why I'm thinking about everyone as opposed to one particular group or demographic. Thank you.
Thank you, Liam. We do have a question from our audience. Christopher Ramey has another question. Chris, would you please unmute and ask your question?
Thank you. So my question, in the United States, we are seeing a crisis when it comes to mental health. Not only individuals who are trying to seek mental health and can't get it due to health care, but also just a mental health crisis to where those individuals are falling through the cracks. What will you do to make a change and make access to healthcare easier, and also just to try to do everything you can to break the stigma of mental health in the United States?
Chris, thank you for that question. We will send that question first to Tim. I'm sorry. No, Liam. Get myself out of sync here.
All right. Thanks, Christopher, for the question. That's a great question. The first thing, I only have a minute and a half, so to get rid of the stigma of the people who have issues with mental health, the first thing that we have to do is just recognize everybody from time to time has issues with mental health, and that is normal and that is acceptable, and that is the way to do it, and make sure that you're doing it. It might be awkward especially for us that are older than 40 years old to accept, it's just part of our vernacular. But the younger generation, they're actually starting to accept that, because every other person is on one medication or another due to some sort of mental health issue. So that being said, how do I want to address this a little bit more? Well, I am a proponent to universal health care. I personally advocate for Medicare for all. However, my personal preference is a national healthcare service. Having access doesn't mean anything if you don't have the cash to actually get into it. Copays and deductibles are so unaffordable. They're about where medicine without insurance was 20 years ago. So it's astronomical right now just to get it. So it's more important than just access. Thank you.
Thank you, Liam. Tim, same question to you.
Yeah. This is a true problem, a heart-wrenching problem in America right now, is our access to healthcare and behavioral health, especially. Again, a lot of our district is quite rural. In my area of Clark County, there's only one nurse practitioner that does behavioral health for the entire population here. Why is that? It comes down to a few root causes. One is the way we pay for healthcare again. The second is access. We can increase access again through telemedicine, which includes broadband. It's something I built. It's something I do currently. Has created a company that physician practice that makes that happen. And then it's also about eradicating the root causes of some of the problems that happen because of mental health. And the dual epidemic of mental health and fentanyl and drugs. And so how we deal with fentanyl is an enormous part of opioids. Our current incumbent voted against the package to help our country fight against fentanyl. She was one of 30 people to do so. It was a bipartisan bill. That's unacceptable, and that's something I would lean into immediately upon getting to Congress. I'd reintroduce that, reauthorize that.
Thank you, Tim, for that question. There is another question that I would pose to you at this point in time. Could you please tell us how you would distinguish yourself from your Republican opponents? Tim, can you answer this question first?
Yeah, I think I'm distinguishing myself from her quite clearly right now. She's part of a group of people, and unfortunately, some of this is on both sides of the aisle, that are grandstanding and trying to work for their own political gain rather than represent us as Hoosiers. It feels almost as if we don't have representation because the votes aren't happening. Bills aren't getting to the floor. The border bill that we know would help the situation is not getting to the floor. I would be someone who works right down the middle. As I said before, I'm a centrist Democrat. What does that mean? It means for looking for ways to save money, cut fraud, cut waste, cut corruption, cut abuse, and then repurpose that and reappropriate that money to help the social causes that we all care about. Some of those social causes we haven't talked about include universal pre-K, for example, which stimulates economy as well as stimulates our children having a great education. And so I'm set myself up for everybody to know that I am about being not partisan, but someone who will do the work, who will listen to both sides of the aisle, and be someone who's a moderator. We need that in Congress right now, and I'll be that person.
Thank you very much, Tim. Liam, same question to you. How would you distinguish yourself from your Republican opponent?
Whenever I'm out there and I'm being loud, it's easy to distinguish myself from anybody, really. I can't help but be noticed whenever I'm in a room. My voice is loud and it carries. But that being that as it may, one thing that is well known, or is at least the worst kept secret, is I'm a socialist. By socialist, I mean I believe in a socialist economic model. I'm unique like that. And the thing is I go out and pitch that every day, not just to Democrats, but to people who are independents, even different parties, including the Libertarian Party voters and the Republican Party voters. And I actually don't get harsh responses from people whenever I say, "Yeah, I'm one of those socialists you've been told to be scared of," and and most of the responses are, "Wow, you are amazing. You're a breath of fresh air. You're not like other Democrats, are you?" No, I'm really not. I'm a United States Marine Corps veteran. I speak directly. I am, and I advocate for things passionately. But at the same time, I try not to take myself too seriously. I try to encourage dialogue rather than cut it off. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Liam. And it looks as if we have another question from Christopher Ramey. Chris, you know the drill. Please unmute and ask your question.
Thank you very much. Sorry if you're getting tired of my questions. So my question is right now we see in America, in the state, in the county, in the cities we live in, those individuals who identify within the LGBTQIA+ community, they're being targeted. What do you plan to do once you get to Congress to ensure that they remain to have the rights they deserve?
Thank you very much, Chris. Liam, that question will go first to you.
The best way to answer that is everything I can to support the LGBTQ community. Let's be real. I'm a socialist. And if I were to be elected to Congress, I would be going into the lines and I'd be under fire every day. You see what happens to people who are on the left within Congress. They're getting chased out. I'm to the left of most of those. That being said, whenever I go in there, that's a number one priority, because the reality is there is nobody in this chat and there's nobody in America who doesn't have friends and family who are LGBTQ. And whenever we start going after people because they're LGBTQ, we're going to start taking out our own family members and our own friends. We won't realize how expanded this is. It would be a travesty to do that. So everything I can to protect the LGBTQ community is what I'm going to do.
Thank you, Liam. Tim, same question to you.
Yeah, I can't believe the LGBTQ rights are an issue in America. Right? We're at a point where the othering of people has become so extreme that this population becomes more and more in our sightlines for those who are trying to repeal those rights every day. We all may know that there's a trigger law on the books right now for gay marriage to be repealed in Indiana, should that be allowed. That could be through the Supreme Court, but even if it is, Congress has the right, the ability to codify that even more in Congress, and that's something I'd obviously stand up for. As Liam said, we all have LGBTQ people in our family. I'm no different. People are people, and in Congress, our job is just to be an advocate for everybody, not just the people that we pick and choose.
Thank you, Tim. The next question that I would pose to our candidates is, could you tell us what your position is on the southern border, including the fact that Indiana's governor recently authorized sending some of our National Guard there? And that question goes first to Tim.
Yeah, so border security, immigration, they're a responsibility of the federal government. That is very clear, and it should stay that way. And the Supreme Court seems to be continuing to believe that, even this Supreme Court, and be skeptical of for example, Texas putting, bolstering up their part of the effort. The recent bipartisan bill that has been blocked by the House it just continues to highlight the problem that we have in Congress, where we're not working together. That bill would have created 1,300 Border Patrol agents. It would have created 375, I believe it was, justices to be doing the work. It would have created 1,600 asylum officers, and then 100 machines for detecting drugs and fentanyl as well. That was all in that bill. It was made by the leaders within Congress and then blocked. If we had that, we would be stopping a lot of this emergency that we have at the border. And so with electing me, we'll get one vote closer to be able to introduce and pass that.
Thank you very much, Tim. Liam, same question to you.
Okay, so that the immigration bill that just recently passed, the problem with it is it's a Republican immigration policy with money for Ukraine. And that is the catch-22 that bill had. And it is some of the worst immigration policy I've ever seen. The reality is that we do have open border, or mostly open borders. Let me direct you to Canada if you don't believe me. That being said, we must treat this in the most humane way possible. And the reality is people who want to be an American, I'm down for letting them be an American. We are a nation of immigrants, unless you are a Native American. And so the more the merrier. There are people out there who, there's plenty of opportunities to work. There's plenty of opportunities to get paid. There's plenty of opportunities to live and to enjoy your life in this nation. And I don't think that we should restrict one group because of the color of their skin. And that's about all I have to say about that, or that's all I have time to say about. Anyway, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Liam. I have another question to pose to you. What do you think the federal government's role should be in public education? And Liam, I would direct this first to you.
Okay, so I think that the federal government's role in education is actually very limited. We have a very small education budget federally. What happens is most of that education money gets divvied up and goes out to the states, and the states spend that money according to the way they want to. That's why a lot of that money goes to things that it shouldn't go to, and a lot of the things that are needed actually in our education system aren't there. But the education standards for schools and state universities are not where they should be, and they should be elevated. Keep in mind, I think that schools, we're teaching children how to carry on with the next generation. We need to teach them well. We need to give them the skills that they need so they can go out and build a better nation in the future. A lot of the stuff that I want, that I wish for, that I advocate for, if I were to get it, I still wouldn't see it in my lifetime, probably, because there's a lot of things that are working against that. But that being said, we need to make these schools just magnificent. We need to actually boost the funding that we give to schools, and we need to make sure that the states need to know this is how you spend it. Public education is the best education. We're getting everybody out there. We're getting knowledge spread. Let's get it done. Thank you.
Thank you, Liam. Tim, same question to you. What should the federal government's role be in public education?
Yeah, so the federal government and particularly Congress, I think, has a pretty enormous role in education. Actually, the fight for how we spend money on education is done at the state level. And if we are not careful and we vote in the wrong people into Congress, that will start to go into the federal level, and we will have restrictions there. You look at the charter school voucher program that's happening in Indiana, which is a program that allows kids to go to schools other than public schools and pays for them in such a way that actually benefits those who are of means and of wealth. And therefore, those who aren't go to the public schools, which now have money that is siphoned off of them. It's a state program, and I often hear, "Oh, but you and Congress won't have anything to do with that." Well, watch if we have people who will continue to advocate for that in Congress and try to make laws that make it easier for those programs to happen. Furthermore, you heard me before say universal pre-K. It's one of my favorite programs. It's one of my favorite programs because we know that those who go through pre-K have less recidivism, less better graduation rates, less teen pregnancy rates. Just from hearing words and being in school earlier, it also allows people to get to work should they decide to.
Thank you, Tim. We have another question from Christopher Ramey. Chris, you may unmute and ask your question.
I'm becoming a pro at this.
You are.
Absolutely.
So I went to the store this week, and I will tell you, it really hit my pocketbook more and more every time I go. With today's economy, we see what I believe to be corporate greed causing severe inflation. Once you are in Congress, what do you plan to do or look at to help rectify the issue or to slow down this issue to make it more affordable for all Americans to be able to simply provide food for their families?
Thank you, Chris. That question goes to you, Tim.
Thank you. And thanks, Chris, for all the questions. It's great. Keep them coming. So, federal government does have a strong voice and can have a lot of action in keeping corporations in check to help them grow and as Americans need them to, but also do so in a way that are helping their employees and helping the moral responsibility they have to the customers they have. So one great example of this is how we treat healthcare costs and what just happened in the budget right now. We cut payments for physicians and nurse practitioners, so the people on the front line, in terms of how much Medicare pays them. But didn't cut for hospitals, but more so didn't cap or help regulate as much as the insurance companies could make off of those same payments, and didn't think about what pharma could make off of those same payments. And so there seems to be a disparity of the people of how we're dealing with prices for the people on the ground versus the businesses that are generating and making those prices. So using healthcare as an example, Congress and myself can have a very strong voice in making change there.
Thank you, Tim. Liam, same question to you, please.
I'm with you there. Corporate greed is out of control, and it's in every facet of our life. Let's be real about that. As far as greedflation goes, with corporations raising their prices faster than actual inflation, it's just pure greed. They're having record profits whenever the mainstream economy is not doing well. That means they're raising their prices at the expense of the consumers. One would hope that they would actually start pricing themselves out of consumer ranges and actually start to tank themselves, because whenever consumers can't consume, the economy starts to go. So that being said, what do you do to actually address this? There's a myriad of ideas. My idea is for a product that is the exact same thing in like or kind, being the price change from fiscal year to fiscal year cannot increase more than a X%. And if it increases any more than X%, then there has to be some sort of mechanism there that de-incentivizes pricing outside of people's pocketbooks. And that's all I have to say about that.
Okay. All right. Next question. The 2023 Civic Health Index ranked Indiana 50th in the country for voter turnout. What changes do you endorse to improve our state and our country's voter participation rate? And that question goes first to Liam.
Okay, this is one of my favorite questions I've got so far, and this is just a reality. I understand that I'm talking to mostly, if not all, Democrats, and this is a super important question. The reality is that this nation has about as many Democrats as Republicans, but the one demographic that actually is way larger is the independents, or the people who feel like they're being left out and don't understand what's going on between the different parties. People who are independent, whether they're conservative leaning or they're socialist leaning. And so that being said, like they just feel completely left out. There's a lot of things that both parties do to exclude people and not to actually include them. And to make matters worse, those who are on the fence, or have time, take time to actually think through things, they're actively being shamed and pushed away, and so they're sitting at home, they're not voting. To me, I want to stop vote shaming people, because the problems of this nation aren't the voters' faults. This is the corrupt politicians who take money to do certain things that the voters have no idea about. So the trash politicians are the ones to blame, not the voters. And I think that every Democrat should push that. This is not your fault. Let's fix this together. Thank you.
Thank you, Liam. Tim, same question.
There's definitely places where we can work in terms of voter access. I would like to talk about apathy right now, and why I think voter apathy is happening. It is not a voter problem. It is a problem with the elected officials that we are putting into Congress. Again, I've said this, and this is a major point that I truly believe is the dysfunction of Congress right now, is that we have people digging their heels in both sides, yelling about things, but not doing the work. We have a vote. It is a right of ours to vote. And we use that vote, and we take a day off from work, and we go to work, and we vote for people who then go to Washington and don't work. That is anti-Hoosier. That is anti-Midwest value. And so we need to, right now, stand up and elect people that will actually show that there is a path forward. I promise I will work with Republicans. I will work with independents. I will work with Democrats to make progress. I promise to join something called the Problem Solvers Caucus, which is something of Republicans and Democrats who are working together and are responsible for a lot of the bipartisan bills that have gone through in the past few years. So apathy isn't a voter problem. It's the problem of having the right people doing the right work.
Thank you, Tim. I have a question to pose related to that last question. How much of a role do you believe redistricting has to do with voter apathy? And how would you change redistricting to try to address this issue? Tim, you're first.
Yeah, gerrymandering is an enormous problem, and the way it works is it really just benefits whoever happens to be in power at the moment of the gerrymandering in the state. And so that's a terrible way to move forward because it takes away voices from people. I would like to say one thing about gerrymandering of Indiana 9. 2020 is when redistricting happened. And Indiana 9, if you're a Democrat, and if you're a moderate in this district, you saw a change in which Bloomington is fully in this district. the Louisville suburbs and the Cincinnati suburbs are fully in this district. And, post Dobbs, post overturning of Roe v. Wade, you look at this district now and you have a lot of growth and a lot of suburban people who are ready to vote right now. And if they came together and voted, we would have a landslide victory as Democrats. And I plan on giving them sensible, pragmatic ways to think about using their vote to put me in Congress on top of that to encourage them to come through. We can win this election. We won 15 of 20 races in my town in Clark County this in 2023. 3 of our mayors are Democrats in our largest cities. 2 of our 3 cities are Democratic mayors. We have mayors who are Democrats in Charlestown, in North Vernon, in Scottsburg, in Austin. We have Democratic city councils in Bloomington, New Albany, Clarksville, and Jeffersonville. It is the time right now to take advantage of this moment and how it actually has been gerrymandered in our favor. If we come out and vote, we will win.
Liam, can you address that question?
Yeah. So gerrymandering is a problem. We all know that it's a problem. This is a discussion that we've had many, many times. I don't need to go reinvent the wheel on the discussion on that. But as it pertains to apathy here, the reality is gerrymandering isn't causing most of the apathy. The apathy lies in there's no substantial policy. Whenever there's no substantial policy, nothing the federal government does actually affects our lives in huge ways, except for in bad ways. Like, when was the last time you're like, wow, this is really cool? It's been several years for most of us. That being said, how do we get people out to vote? Actually have rich policies that will affect people. Like, for example, universal health care is a huge issue. That would affect every single Hoosier. It doesn't matter if they're blue or if they're independent or if they're red. Everybody would be affected. Going into a hospital and getting your leg cast because you just broke your leg isn't gonna put you into bankruptcy territory. You know what I'm saying? So the reality is that we need to address issues with all the people here and put actual policies on the table that's going to not just positively affect the lives of Democrats, but will positively affect the lives of everyone in the district. And whenever you start putting that out there, and whenever you start promoting that, you actually start to get more feedback. But it's not just enough to say it. You actually have to start hammering it down. We need to actually start getting up there and saying, hey, we're strong with this, and we need to promote this. And things can change. We just have to be genuine with one another. Thank you.
Thank you, Liam. I don't believe we have any more questions from the audience. So this is going to be my last question to ask you, and then we will move into closing remarks. What legislative priorities do you plan to address in your first year, should you be elected? And Liam, I think you're first this time.
All right. Policies, there's tons of stuff that I would love to do legislatively, and I don't want to, like, if I get elected to Congress, I'm not going to make it a lifetime thing. I don't want to have DC brain. I want to be able to actually be a part of the working class. I don't want to rise from the ranks. I want to rise with the ranks. And if getting a strong voice in there is what it takes, that's what it takes. The first legislative priority is anti-corruption. And then we have to start doing things that are, we have to start providing people with the essentials of life, because the essentials of life are a human right. For example, food, clothing, housing, and healthcare are all fundamental human rights. And anybody who doesn't believe that hasn't caught up to modern times. It's not that we're changing. We've just upgraded enough. You know, we've had enough expansion packs, if you will. Okay, so we just, we're at the point where we can house people, we can feed people, we can give them health care, and we can even provide them food. We just need actually somebody out there with a loud voice promoting and advocating for these issues in Congress. and I want to make sure that it is a government that works for the people, not for the corporations. There should be a wall between corporate corporations and the government, and that's just the way it should be, because that should be the focus right there. The people of the United States. That's the focus. Thank you.
Thank you, Liam. Tim, same question to you.
Yeah, what do we work on in terms of legislation is, what can I do that I bring as a unique member to Congress to be able to move things forward? What are the pieces of legislation that I can write and lead Congress towards seeing a different way? One of those places is healthcare, obviously. And I know I'm an expert around healthcare policy. I'm an expert around healthcare payments, but I'm also an expert around the delivery of healthcare. I do think that we should continue to have Medicare be able to negotiate rates on the cost of drugs. That is something that we need to continue to expand and have an advocate for. That's why, and we brought insulin down to $35, and we can do better on other drugs too. I do believe that we can change the way healthcare is paid for and reward those people on the front end of healthcare. The other things that I would be called to work on are those things that are emergencies. Our climate right now is an emergency. So I'll work with others on climate bills. Our access to healthcare for women is an emergency, and we need to be able to be making large changes there. If a certain Congress is put into play, we might have to make small changes before we make large changes, but we need to make change now. And thirdly, the homeless, veterans, and housing, again, an emergency that we have, and I'll be working on that. The fourth one is the border and the inflow of fentanyl and what that does to our mental health and our healthcare system and our communities. It is an emergency. I will work on it.
Thank you, Tim. Up front, I want to thank both of you for your insightful answers to this plethora of questions that we managed to vet you on. And now I want to move into your final comments. Each of you is going to have a minute and a half, 90 seconds, to give your final remarks. And we will start with Tim.
So as an emergency room doctor, I set broken bones all the time. But what I've never set is a Democratic bone or a Republican bone. I've never helped an independent car crash victim. I've never, in my life, taken a partisan bullet out of a child. I've never held a Democratic hand or a Republican hand of an elderly patient. And I've never asked the patient who they voted for before working as hard as I could to make them better. I've only treated people. My neighbors, mothers, fathers, sons, daughters. That's just the way I see people. And while that might not be the way to climb a political ladder, I don't plan on changing it, even if I tried. And I know from talking to so many people like you here in so many communities of our corner of Indiana, that most people think like I do, because I'm not a politician and neither are you. If you've ever framed a house or spent a day teaching school, keeping up our streets, plowing a field, building a business, helping our seniors, keeping our lights on, or any of the million other ways our neighbors keep Indiana moving, you know that rooted in that joy that comes from being useful is community, a sense of working for and with each other. And folks, I'm asking for your vote so I can represent you in this community to go to DC and show this Do Nothing Congress what it means to be a Hoosier, what it means to be useful. Thank you for coming here this morning on a Saturday morning. Thank you to our moderator, and thank you to the group who put this on. I appreciate the League of Watermen voters and all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Liam, you may start.
What am I about? I'm about humanity and diplomacy, thinking about things that that everybody needs. What is our government there? It's there to serve the people. not this demographic, that's demographic, or this demographic separately, but all people. And if you lift everybody up, everybody's lives improve. Excuse me. And that's what I'm about. And I try to do it in a open, transparent, genuine way with everybody. You know, a long time ago, I was told we need more engineers and doctors and actual professionals that are not lawyers running for Congress, running for Senate, even running for the president. You know, as somebody who's in the engineering discipline or in an engineering discipline, you know, I want to go there and talk, you know, and have common sense things. I know a lot about policy. People around the district know that I'm a policy wonk. I could sit there and talk about policy for hours. Some people in here may have been a participant into these hour-long discussions over policy. So with me, what you see is what you get. No more, no less. There's some things that I'm a little bit more eccentric about, I suppose, but radical things are, you know, pretty rad in my opinion. But I'm just having fun there. But that being said, here I am. What you see is what you get. And I would like to thank the moderator and everybody who has attended. And thank you for staying around for the full rantings of this guy. Thank you.
All right. Thank you both very much. And we are going to conclude this particular forum. I want to thank the candidates, first of all, for taking time out of their busy schedules. I know what it's like to be a candidate, and it's a crazy time of your life. And I applaud you for undertaking running for office. In addition, I want to thank Community Access Television Services, and I want to thank all of the sponsors, the leagues from both Bloomington, Monroe County, and Brown County, the Greater Bloomington Chamber of Commerce, the Monroe County branch of the NAACP, the Monroe County Now, and the Central Indiana Citizens Climate Lobby. I want to remind everyone to vote. The primary is coming up faster than you might imagine. Early voting will also be starting in just a matter of days. Tuesday, May 7th, that's our primary. You can use Vote 411 to check out the various candidates and get information to help guide your voting decisions. I want to thank everyone again for your participation and your interest in the civic health of Indiana. Thank you. Goodbye.